Queensryche right here on your classic metal show from the Empire release. That is Jet City Woman for our good friend Sal. Listening in the chat room.
Is he still around, Sal?
I don't know. Maybe he went to sleep.
I think he probably had one too many Heinekens and went to bed.
Is that what he drinks, Heinekens?
Well, no, I don't know what he drinks, but I haven't seen him post here in a while. So, and especially when we were talking about politics, he'd be right in there to tell me, "You're an asshole, Chris. Trump rules."
Well, you are an asshole, Chris.
Fair enough. Not the first time I've heard that.
Why won't you just accept your station in life?
I do accept it. I accept my station in life very fully.
Yep.
And that is being an asshole, a bigot, a racist, a homophobe, everything you want to call me.
Right.
That's what I accept it fully.
You are.
Mm-hmm. So.
Well, apparently this virus shit is like getting nutty with a lot of people.
Yeah. I've been seeing some stuff. Did you see the video of the guy that had the coronavirus? So he jumped off a building and splatted
I heard some guy committed suicide, but because he couldn't take the shelter in place order anymore.
Yeah, so he jumped off a building. What an ass!
I'll throw you off a building right now.
Yeah, pal. I'm not gonna lie. I laughed.
Well, again, it's just like, dude. All you had to do was stay at home, so you're going to throw yourself off of a building?
I didn't have any compassion. I don't have any compassion for anybody but his family that's going to be upset, because they somehow weren't able to convince this dumbbell to fucking sit on his couch and watch the fucking Tiger King. So, no compassion at all. I saw him. I heard that mushy splat hit on as he hit the street, and I chuckled. I was just like, and I know that's a horrible way to be, but I don't care.
Well, what the thing is at this point, just because of the nonsense that goes on out there,
mm-hmm.
I think about, this virus. And again, this virus affects everybody differently.
Sure.
But unfortunately, this is what I call calling the herd or nature just cleansing the gene pool. It's just weeding out the weak at the moment.
Can you imagine what these same people would have been doing if, God forbid, like World War II, they had to go to war and there was no two ways about it? Can you imagine that? They would not have been able to handle that shit.
Well, the thing is that we did have a epidemic or a pandemic way back in World War I.
Right.
And you know what? People just bucked up and dealt with it.
Yeah, they said, fuck it, gotta go. That was it. There was none of that. There was no, no crying about it. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was, but not in public. You fucking didn't dare do that. You fucking served. You got out there and said, fuck yeah, pal, I'm out there.
I agree. Well, anyway, the city education department in Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Yeah, I've been there.
Have you?
I have.
Oh, really? I did go there one time. When I was driving a truck back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I picked up at a factory in Woonsocket, of all places.
Sure.
So I've actually been there as well.
And my grandparents lived in Warren, Rhode Island. So I spent every summer in Warren, Rhode Island. And, we would go to Woonsocket or we would go to Pawtucket or, we went to all these places and I don't know what we were doing, whether it was grocery shopping or seeing whatever fucking happens in Woonsocket or whatever.
Woonsocket,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
What's it?
It's Woons. It's WOONSOCKET. Woonsocket.
Woonsocket.
Yep.
It just sounds like another name for pussy. And I the sticker in her wound socket.
Exactly. I'd like to plug into her wound socket.
Yeah, pal.
Or her womb socket.
Like to go face deep in her bloody wound socket.
Exactly. I got my tongue stuck in her wound socket.
Yeah, that was a bloody, disgusting mess.
The city education department is investigating a teacher who is accused of making a social media post last weekend that asked people with the coronavirus to cough on President Trump.
And so, what, they're arresting her now or what?
Well, the post, which was made through a Twitter account
well, that's good.
that has since been deleted, read, "Somebody with the COVID-19, I will pay you to cough on President Trump."
Oh, please let the fucking men in black have shown up and fucking arrested this cow and try her on fucking terrorism charges.
It's domestic terrorism.
Please let that be the case.
School committee chairman Paul Burgett identified the teacher under investigation as Amy Bednarz, Bednarz.
Mm-hmm.
She teaches English as a second language in Villanova Middle School, according to the school's website. She did not respond immediately to a message to another Twitter account with her name on it.
Oh, well, that's good.
These people with their fucking social media. The education department expects a complete investigation before the next school committee meeting scheduled for April 8th.
All right. I'm going to stop you right there, and you can go back to the story in a minute. But I'm going to sidetrack based on that one sentence because it comes up all the time, with every one of these stories about any different thing, whether it's fucking racism, whether it's fucking, bigotry or not using right pronouns or all this shit.
Having sex with a kid.
All of it. Same fucking thing.
Of course.
And it's all bullshit. There is no investigation. There's not a team of experts that are going to come in and scrub this Twitter account looking for a post. There's not a team of psychologists that are going to interview this lady to see if she really is a secret agent of the Russian government that's going to find the person to cough on the president.
Well,
okay, there's no investigation. None. Investigation is a fancy word that these people try to use that to convince people that they're doing something. Here's the investigation. Here's how it went. Somebody sent a screenshot of her Twitter. Answer, investigated and guilty. I'm looking at the screenshot. Guilty. End of investigation. And the amount of time I just spent telling you that is exactly the amount of time that they put into the investigation.
Well, and I agree with your, surface synopsis, if I will. What they're trying to say is we're running this past our legal department, so if we can fire her, she can't have any kind of, come back after us.
Right. We're making sure we can't be sued.
Exactly. That's basically what the investigation consists of. It's just like, so she does not have any recourse against us. So they're going out of their way to keep John Levin at home making guitar videos. Exactly. So the investigation more or less amounts to, well, she did it. We know she did it. Let's turn it over to the legal team because we want to fire her and make sure that she doesn't have any recourse in suing us.
Right.
That's what the investigation is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it was cut and dry like you spell it out, I think all of us could agree with that. But unfortunately, we live in a society where there are torts and there are so many twists and turns to what people can do and to have some kind of recourse. They're just trying to have a rock solid case to say, you're fired, and you can't get anything back at us.
Right. It's torts and tards. That's really what it is. There's a bunch of tards that are going to use the torts.
Exactly. The committee will hear the results of the investigation, i.e., can we fire her without her having any recourse?
Yeah, there you go.
At the meeting, as well as the recommendations from the superintendent, and then decide what, if any, action to take. They already know what they want to do. They're just finding out if they can do it.
Right.
Without an issue.
Mm-hmm.
The contents of the tweet were both vile and despicable and in no way reflect the core values or ideals of the Woonsocket Education Department.
Bunch of jerking off.
Of course, it's like, we don't condone this. Don't hold us accountable for her. She doesn't speak for us, pal.
We would never say such a thing.
Upon completion of the investigation, the appropriate actions, i.e., we can fire her without, her having any kind of recourse, will be recommended in accordance to Woonsocket's Education Department policy. Well, if you had a policy, there wouldn't be any question about it.
Yeah. If you had a policy, the lawyers probably would have already spelled it out. You could say, yeah, beat it, bitch, you're fired.
The policy is not even written. The policy is, well, what we decide as we go along.
Yeah, you know when that policy was made up? As soon as they got the screenshot. We better have a policy for that.
Right, of course.
Secretary, take a note. We don't stand by this.
This will not stand, man.
Yeah, add that to the bylaws in the back of the student manual.
So funny.
Yeah.
How is it that two laymen like us can decipher this shit without going in through all this political correctness?
Well, because we don't care. I mean, we're not sensitive to anybody's feelings, and that's why we're wrong.
Right.
Because we just look at the facts and say, this is fucking dumb.
It is.
Well, to us it is, but to those that are more sensitive and caring, that are not harsh and mean and vicious like we are, there's a lot that goes into any decision. You have to consider the needs and the wants and the wishes of everybody, Neely. Unfortunately, we're too heartless for that.
Well, speaking of people who originally thought it was, bias or what would be the word I'm looking for here? It's not racist, but bigotry, I think, would be the correct word.
Okay.
This whole epidemic, as of late, where these males, biological males, are quote unquote transitioning to females.
Okay.
And then competing in female sports and beating the shit out of the actual real biological females.
Right.
This is getting out of hand.
Yeah, well, so they say.
Yeah. So because of the loss of competition due to real females, biological females competing against transitioned females, now they're getting pissed off about it.
Now they're mad.
Now they're saying, wait a minute. We're losing the dudes who are pretending to be chicks.
Gee, we were saying that from the first moment this came up.
Of course.
We were told that we were bigots.
Of course. Well, now female athletes are saying competing against biological males is unfair, and that's not bigotry, but science.
No.
What?
That sounds exactly like what we were saying. When we were told that we were bigots and homophobes and everything else. That sounds exactly like the point we were making.
Well, when you start losing to that, then the game changes.
Yeah, well, yeah. And more to the point, when you start losing scholarships to that. I have my niece is a my niece is a NCAA scholarship track person. She runs the, I forget what she runs, the 880 or the 4x2 mile or what, something. Couple of things.
Yeah, she just runs some sporting event, whatever.
Well, it's track. I don't know.
I get it. I know. I'm just being silly, but go ahead.
But she she trains constantly because it's a big deal to,
of course it is,
to get your college paid for or partially paid for or however that works. I don't even know how that works.
Yeah, it's a scholarship.
Yeah, she's a scholarship athlete, and they give her clothes and her food and, trainers and training rooms and all the shit that they need to excel in college. And, she has to bust her ass. And she had to bust her ass for 4 years of high school. And now she has to bust her ass even more in college, because if she doesn't maintain her times and, and improvements and improve on schedules and all that other shit, she could lose her scholarship. And not finish her education. So she has to bust her ass to stay ahead of the game. And I've never heard her say it, but I can't imagine what she would think if all of a sudden she was running against three dudes that were 6'4" with a fucking wig on that were saying, well, now we're Jan and Jenny. I have to think she would be furious about that, because they would have a different muscular structure than she does, and it would not be fair one-on-one competition.
Oh, I thought everybody was the same.
No?
Thought it was same and equal and everything.
Well, you would think, but apparently not.
All right, women are leading the charge to put laws in place to protect female athletes from competing against biological male transgender competitors, and their passion for the issue was on display at an online event. Connecticut athletics, Girls Speak on Thursday. Now, how come these women aren't bigots now?
I don't know. Sounds like they're bigots to me.
These women represent an unlikely alliance between the self-described radical feminist organization, a conservative family, faith, and freedom advocacy group, and 3 high school girls. And this coalition that is gaining national attention as an activist push for biological men who say they have a female, quote-unquote, gender identity to compete in girls' school sports. I love it when the left eats their own.
Oh, they definitely are now. That's for sure.
To quote Chris Aiken.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 girls, Selena Sewell, Alana Smith, and Chelsea Mitchell, filed a federal lawsuit challenging the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference decision to allow boys to compete against them if they, quote unquote, identify as girls. Alliance Defending Freedom is representing the trio, and the Women's Liberation Front, also known as WOLF.
Wolf?
Yeah, Women's Liberation Front.
Oh, boy.
Has put its advocacy firmly behind the efforts as an organization that fights for the rights, privacy, and safety of women and girls.
Mm-hmm.
Add to those forces Beth Stelzer, an amateur power lifter who believes in level playing field for women so much, so she launched Save Women's Sports in 2019, a coalition of people dedicated to making sure biology, not ideology, informs school sports policies.
Holy shit, you could literally pull up a CMS episode from 5 years ago and hear that.
Of course.
Saying that since this nonsense started.
That's because everybody was afraid to step forward and say, yeah, this isn't right. Oh no, everybody's accepted. Everybody's equal. Everybody's the same.
Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. Every time every time that you give up fact for feeling, there's going to be somebody or some group that's going to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Because anytime you base anything on your feelings, it's a weakness.
It's a loser. It's a loser every time.
But it's a weakness. It's a weakness, and every weakness in every situation can always be exploited. And that's exactly what goes on. This is just one example of it. I'm going to guarantee you that there are going to be women, quote unquote women, or actual women, I mean.
Biological women
that are going to say they're going to transition into being men.
Yeah.
And then they're going to sue their companies because they don't increase their salary based on it. I'm going to guarantee you that's going to happen. And they're going to try and use the old standard of women don't make as much as men. That's what's going to end up happening. And you know what's going to be the result? They're going to change. Companies are going to end up changing their rules, saying that, yeah, you can make the same amount of money, but you're not going to get family leave. You're not going to get maternity leave. If you do, it's going to be unpaid because it's not fair to the other side. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to have a bunch of dudes, regular dudes, that are not getting the same maternity leave as pretend dudes filing lawsuits.
Pretend dudes.
Well, I'm being honest. Don't you think that's...
Dude, I get it. Believe me, I really do get it. It's just so stupid.
I mean, dude, if the girl that works in your office changed her name to Mark...
Yes.
If she changed her name to Mark and then pretended that she was a dude, pretended she had a dick, pretended she was a guy, and then got knocked up and went on maternity leave for 6 weeks, wouldn't you, who goes to that same job and allegedly is exactly the same, paid the same, making the same amount of money, on the same pay scale as Mark now, wouldn't you be like, hey, fuck that, I should get 6 weeks off too?
Yeah.
For some reason, maybe I need 6 weeks to talk about adopting a kid.
Exactly.
Maybe. I mean, and how can your company justify not giving you 6 weeks off? Again, it all comes down. Mark made the decision to pretend to be a guy, and Mark made the decision to have a kid. So why does Mark have the power of decision to make $5,000 or whatever you would make in six weeks, 5-10 grand, whatever it would be? Why does Mark get that fucking privilege?
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but how come your personal choices or decisions, why does that fall on the shoulders of the employer you work for?
I agree with that too.
See, it's just like, well, we didn't make that decision as your employer, so why are we obligated to pay you?
Yeah, but dude, if we're going to argue that point, we can go all the way into why the fuck do I as an employer have to fucking pay for health insurance? I don't give a rat's ass what you do when you're not on my clock. I really don't. And if I have to pay for it, then you should have to report to me with what you're doing. You shouldn't be allowed to, not that I'm a good one to fucking preach this, but you know what? If I'm paying your health insurance, I don't want you eating anything but fucking salad.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to see a health chart where you're working out 45 minutes a morning.
Well, there is a lot of validity to that. Because again, we talked about this earlier in the show that, me personally, I take a lot of extra steps to make sure that I eat right and take my vitamins and stay healthy. And so a guy like me who never takes sick days, never.
Right.
Why am I, why do I show up to work every day, but other people who have less healthy habits are allowed to take off sick days and be out, of work,
Yeah.
On certain days because they either smoke or they eat poorly or they have bad habits or all these other things.
Yeah, they're just hungover.
Exactly.
You know goddamn well somebody in your office has missed a day or 6 from being hungover. You know that happens. It happens. Yeah, I agree with you fully. You want to even the playing field? Fine, let's even it. Let's all the way even it. Pay your own fucking health insurance.
Exactly.
Here's your fucking money. Here's your cost of living. Fucking take the job or don't. Pay your own fucking insurance. Fuck off. I don't care how healthy you are.
Exactly.
Believe it, I have employees, and I'll tell you straight up, I wouldn't give them a fucking bottle of 1 a day plus per month. Because I don't have I have no say in what they do. I've told the story before about my one worker. He smokes pot all the fucking time. Fair enough. I accept that. I guess I could say you can't work for me because you smoke pot, but because I don't give 2 fucks about smoking pot, I don't care. But at the same time, if all of a sudden he was an employee that I had to pay health insurance for, you better believe I'd be up his ass about it. I'd be pissed at him once an hour.
Of course.
It's fucking bullshit. It's
costing me because of your personal life decisions.
Yeah, exactly. And why should it cost me? I had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. I don't know.
All right.
Again, just another piece of society that I just fucking can't stand.
Stelter and Wolf hosted the webinar, which was supposed to be a live event, but was held online because of the coronavirus outbreak. Kara Dansky, who is on Wolf's board, started off the online event sharing why this issue has caused people to come together to back a common cause. She said it's come up to the point in the national narrative that simply speaking up for ourselves is considered hate speech.
Yeah, pal.
See, that's the whole thing. It's like we got to demonize the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's demonize the truth. ADF's legal counsel, Christina Holcomb, who also took part in the webinar, had earlier responded to President Donald Trump's Department of Justice support of the lawsuit, which it says violates the federal Title IX statute to protect girls in school from discrimination based on their biological sex.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's biological sex, if you're a dude, you're a dude.
Yeah, you are a dude,
yeah.
Period.
Girls shouldn't be reduced to spectators in their own sports, Holcomb said. Allowing males to compete in the female category isn't fair and destroys girls' athletic opportunities. Males will always have the inherent physical advantages over comparably talented, trained girls. That's the reason we have girls' sports in the first place, Holcomb said, and a male belief about his gender doesn't eliminate those advantages.
Yeah, well, if we're going to go this far, then I'm going to identify my car as a man, and I'm going to use that on the track against the kid running the 880. I mean, holy shit. I mean, where do we stop with this nonsense? It's never-ending stupidity.
Well, again, it's feelings over facts.
Yeah, exactly. Just take the facts. You're born with a dick, therefore you're fucking qualified as a boy. That's the only track team you can be on. It's the only basketball team you can be on. It's the only football team you can be on. The boys team. That's it.
But the most moving stories came from the teenage athletes who have had their hard work and their dreams dashed when forced to compete against males. Don't you call them males? They identify as females. Recognize.
No. At least they have the balls to stand up, whether it's a newly changed thought or a thought. At least it's changing.
It's interesting that you use the word, at least they had the balls.
Yeah, well, I guess I wasn't thinking that way, but okay.
At the 2019 Indoor Track and Field State Championships, Seoul came into third behind two men racing against her.
Yeah.
As a result, she did not qualify for the New England Regional Championship and could not attend the event where college scouts could have seen her compete.
Yeah.
She said she joined the lawsuit not only because she wants not just to participate in sports but win, but that competing against biological men is unfair.
Yeah. Well, and what can, and even further up the chain, I can't imagine that the scouts in doing their diligence, the scouts are going to have to take the dudes with the college scholarships too, right? The dudes that are pretending to be chicks.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. This puts them in a very precarious situation. If the scouts go, yeah, well, you won the race and all, and you're fast and this, that, and the other, but you're actually a dude. Don't you think that you're not supposed to identify them as dudes. They identify as females, and you should recognize.
Well, I think you're going to go the other way, though. I think the scouts are going to love to take the dudes over the chicks because the scouts, their only goal is to put winners on the team. They'll happily take the dudes pretending to be chicks because there's much more chance of them winning those races.
Well, that I would agree with that as well.
If you play this out for 10 years, just for a 10-year period from 2020 to 2030, and you let it go, you are going to have zero biological chicks on any sporting team.
And I will agree with that. So it's just you'll have dudes basketball, dudes track team, and then you'll have quote-unquote pretend female track team and pretend basketball teams.
That's what I'm saying. This is literally a fast motion movement to ending female sports.
Pretty much.
Because female sports are never, with very rare exception, are you going to find, you will find one female in every sport out of every million females that you run into, true females, that can beat anybody of equal playing field on the men's team.
I really don't know what you mean by true females, Chris. I really don't know what that means.
I mean, born with a vag that gets wet. That's what I mean. But I mean, think about it. Yeah, you might have one, let's just use the NBA versus the WNBA as an example.
Okay.
Because I might as well take a league.
You mean the group of the nappy head? Oh, wait a minute. That I miss. God rest his soul. Nappy headed hose.
Nappy headed hose, no more. But let's take them as an example.
Okay.
There's probably one female in the WNBA that can beat the lowest guy on an NBA team, a singular NBA team. The worst player in the
This is sort of the whole Billie Jean King, Bobby Riggs thing.
Well, it is. It is that. But even the best, whoever the best WNBA player is, and God knows I have no idea who that is. I could not name a singular WNBA player. But whoever the greatest of all time in the history of the WNBA is,
it would be Wilhelmina Chamberlain.
Is that who it is? I don't even know if that's a joke. I don't know if it's a joke or real because I know nothing about the WNBA.
Yeah.
I do know is that whoever the greatest WNBA player is ever would not be able to beat the best player on any NBA team. No fucking way.
Well, that's because you're a bigot.
No, it's because if you put him on a floor and handed him a ball, fucking Michael Jordan at 60 years old would probably school fucking whoever today's best player is at a game on one-on-one 21-3. And that 3 would be because he'd be tired of running around and just let her shoot a 3 that she happened to make.
Hater.
That's just the truth.
Hater.
I am a hater. Goddamn right I'm a hater. I'm a hater of anybody that's fucking full of shit. And these people with their fucking, with their I'm a dude by decision. Fuck you. You're a phony. You're a fucking phony.
No,
period.
The onus is not on them. It's on you, Chris, because you just won't accept it.
Damn right I won't accept it. Not going to. Don't care what label that makes me. Couldn't give a shit. You're a fucking fake. You always will be a fucking fake. Today, tomorrow, forever, as the WWE says.
You and your fake wrestling, too.
I'm right. Well, if we're going to enjoy fake things, fake dudes as chicks, fake wrestling, whatever, who cares? Bring it on. Even the fake wrestling knows to separate the girls, the true girls, from the true guys. They don't have any trannies in there.
Tranny is so offensive, Chris.
Yes, it is.
Why would you say tranny?
Because you know what? It's meant to be offensive. I absolutely want to offend you into acting like a normal human being.
Now, why would you use the word normal? What is normal anyway?
They're not normal. Any guy that wants to grow his hair fucking long, curl it up, and say, okay, I'm Susie now, and because I'm Susie, I'm going to be treated like a female, is an idiot. Just a fucking loon. I miss the days when you did that, you ended up in a fucking room, lined with rubber and wearing a coat with arms in the back. I miss those days. Now you're supposed to treat that same fucking lunatic with respect and courtesy? Fuck you. Stop being such a weak-minded pussy. Stop thinking that I gotta fucking believe what you do, and just admit what you are. You want to wear a dress? Fine, you're a drag queen. Nothing wrong with that, if that's your choice. But don't think that I have to say, oh, well, that's so respectable. You know, it's not. You're a fucking drag queen. That's what you are. Care about it? All right, Nyla Rose is a tranny. Fair enough. I said WWE, you fucking wrestling dickhead. You know, Nyla Rose may be a tranny. And you know what? I don't respect that guy either. Fuck that big tool. Guy's 300 goddamn pounds and he wrestles Riho, who weighs like 92 pounds. And they make a big deal like, oh, she's so powerful. And every time I hear that, because they're trying to show acceptance, AEW, it makes me sick to my fucking stomach that they try to play this guy off as a dude or as a chick. Because it's not a chick. It's a fucking dude. There's a reason that dude should be wrestling other dudes instead of chicks. It's fucking stupid. Don't bring that shit up to me, tyrant. Like I don't fucking know. The only reason you know she's tranny is because you probably want a tranny humper. Fucking flame boot wearing faggot.
The high schooler Alana Smith said she was born to be an athlete and loves competing if the competition is fair. Biological unfairness doesn't disappear because of what you believe is your gender identity, Smith said. Chelsea Mitchell is a senior in high school and one of the fastest female sprinters in Connecticut, but was denied the title of state champion 4 times because she had to compete against male athletes.
In a row?
In a row? The transgender policy, she said, puts us on the sidelines instead of on the podium. Mitchell's mom, Christy, said that she was shocked to learn,
outraged and flabbergasted
to learn groups like the National Women's Law Center and Women's Sports Foundation took the side of the transgender biological male athletes. I felt very betrayed, Mitchell said. The women said that the webinar that they were encouraged by the law just passed by the law just passed in Idaho, the first state to successfully put in place a law that prohibits biological males from competing in girls' sports.
Huh. And of course, that's probably being, whoever submitted that law is just fucking probably getting crucified. Is just a bigot and a homophobe and not sensitive to everybody's needs in their district and all that other bullshit that they throw out at these folks.
Right. Well, why don't we start referring to the people who support this transgenderism? Why don't we refer to them as genetics deniers?
Genetic deniers?
Yeah. People who don't believe in the whole climate change thing, they call them deniers. Let's call these people genetics deniers.
You know what? Speaking of that, now that I see that all the air is getting nice and clear after only 3 weeks of no activity.
Yeah, well, basically in India and China, of all places, where they're the biggest polluters in the whole world.
Right.
Go ahead.
The air is all clean now, right?
It is.
Yeah, so why don't we not fund climate change? Why don't we just take 3 weeks off every year? Close the world down for 3 weeks a year, and that'll save the planet.
Of course.
It'll cost a whole lot less than what they want for climate change fucking studies. And let's be honest, making you pay a fee for making pollution doesn't work nearly as good as just shutting the shit down.
Well, again, here in the States, I remember as far back as the 70s, we, as the United States, have been taking steps to limit pollution. Now, you know that I'm a big fan of going to the city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, sure.
Well, if you go on the inclined plains up Mount Washington on the Duquesne inclines, at the very top of the inclines, at the little what do you want to call the
platform?
It's the wheelhouse up there.
Yeah, okay.
They got a lot of these photos from historic pictures of Pittsburgh from the 30s, 40s, 50s. Well, the pollution from the steel mills from back then was just so thick that even at 4:00 in the afternoon, it was like midnight.
Right.
Just due to the soot and the smoke and the pollution that was pumped from these mills at the time. Well, here we are. We're, 100 or not 100, but about 70 years later.
Right.
Things are drastically different just due to the EPA regulations. Well, the countries like India and China don't follow those type of guidelines, and they pump a ton of pollution in the air, especially India. I did you mention you went to India at all?
I didn't tonight. No.
Well, maybe it was Don when he said that he visited India a couple years ago, and he said he was wearing like white or something, and he was just like, we got off the plane and my whatever I was wearing was just like covered in soot.
Oh yeah, dude, that was how it was in Korea. When I first got to Korea, a guy showed me this thing, and I used to do it all the time. Is you could take your hand and wave it in the air for 10 seconds, and look at your hand would be black.
Exactly.
It was fucking gross, and just thinking that you're breathing that in for fucking years at a time.
Well, you go to these countries like that who don't have any policies or regulations, and they just pump a lot of pollution in the air. Well, since this virus lockdown for the last 3 or 4 weeks, there have been reports from these countries to show the air quality, the improvement in the air quality just in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's just like 100% different. And, when it comes to this quote unquote, this climate change guilt, it always boils down to the U.S. as like the biggest offender or something. And
aren't we like 3% of the world's pollution or something?
It's very, very low. But it's just like, well, when you get China and India start complying with these climate change regulations, then I'll start listening.
Well, all I know is that some of my friends that live out in L.A. have been taking pictures of, like from the mountains and shit of LA, like the what do you call it? The skyline, the LA skyline from the mountains there that you can take. And I mean, you know what those pictures usually look like.
I do. I lived out there for a long time.
So, if you were up on the mountains and you looked out on LA, you could see about half of LA and the other half looked like a brown cloud. It just always looked fucked up. And I've seen quite a few pictures in the last week, people taking pictures of LA, and that cloud is completely gone.
It is. It's gone.
It's just gone in a couple of weeks. So saying that we have to charge, that we can let people get away, that we can be climate conscious by charging extra money, that's fucking horseshit. What we need to do is just shut down for a couple of weeks. The planet can live on forever. Just give it a break.
Exactly.
It's just like a car. Every once in a while, you got to just turn it off for a while. You can't run 24/7.
Well, here's the funny thing. Back in the 60s, okay, we're talking 50 years ago.
Right.
Remember, obviously, the show Beverly Hillbillies?
Sure.
There was an episode on Beverly Hillbillies where some con man was trying to con Jed Clampett out of a bunch of money because his concept was that he was going to drill a big hole through the mountains and put a big fan in there and draw all the smog out of LA. Now, this was 50 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Well, one of the reasons that LA gets a lot of smog is because they're kind of surrounded by mountains, so they're kind of locked into like a basin almost.
Yeah, it's trapped
and that's why they call it the LA Basin. And it gets trapped in that area. But as you were mentioning, since this shutdown and people not driving or running the factories or whatever it is that they do out there,
right?
All that smog has depleted.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah. And I saw the same thing with India and China, that a lot of their pollution has just dissipated into nothing.
Right.
Because, you don't have human activity. But does that cause quote unquote climate change? I'm still not a believer. I guess I'm a denier.
Yeah, you're a denier.
Because this has been going on for decades and decades and decades, and since my life, I haven't seen anything different. This is just kind of a scare. And again, if you want anything to change, when you can, in this Greta Thunberg chick, if you want things to change, if you can convince India and China to change their policies, maybe I'll get on board. But until that happens, fuck you.
Exactly.
That's all I got to say.
I think you're a denier. I think I'm an I don't give a fucker. I can't even listen to that nonsense. I can't watch Al Gore and his dumb movies. I can't fucking listen to people that are telling me that, that if I leave my car run so that the fucking ice melts off my windows in the winter, that I'm fucking hurting the planet.
Right.
And if I am, go fuck yourself. I am. I made enough money to do it. Fuck you. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Well, again, we as the U.S., in my opinion, we've done our part. Mm-hmm. Now, when you can get everybody else on board, maybe I'll get on board. But until that happens, I don't give a shit. I'll still get plastic bags at the groceries. I'll still fuel my car. I'll still drive a V8.
Damn right.
It's not going to happen.
I'll still feed plastic bags to turtles. What do you think of them apples? I don't care. I will watch a dog eat a goddamn bag of balloons.
Right.
I will watch it happen and laugh my ass off when his last breath comes with a big bulbous fucking balloon coming in and out of his mouth.
Exactly.
Trying to get breath, but it chokes him out. I will laugh my fucking ass off. And I will say to that dead dog in its last breath, ha ha, motherfucker, climate change. And watch it die.
Exactly.
Fucking right, I would.
So funny. All right, let's take a short break and then we'll come back and wrap up the show.
All right.
I thought maybe I'd play something from the band Propane.
All right, sounds good.
And I'll play a song called Fuck This Life.
Perfect.
So I think that kind of sums it all up there. But anyway, here it is. It's Propane exclusively here
on your classic metal show.
Hey, this is Gary Meskel from Propane, and you're listening to the Classic Metal Show. Rock on!